How do fractional CMOs hit the ground running? Hi, I'm Dean Way. Welcome to Fractional CMOs and the 90-Day Win. There's a lot of variety in how they kick off a new client engagement. In fact, there's so much variety, it's valuable to just listen to what opportunities they look for, what they tackle first, and what they wish wasn't true when they start a new project. So let's find out. Hi, Edan.
Hi, thank you for having me, Dean.
You're very welcome. Okay, so imagine you just started a new one-year engagement, okay? You're the fractional CMO. We'll talk about early wins in a minute. But first, what problems do you go looking for or usually see on day one of a new engagement? And also tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely, sure. My name is Edan Gelt. I have been a fractional CMO probably longer than I'd like to admit. I just used to call it by different names. I think it was boutique agency owner. I love this term. I think it's fantastic. I've been in the marketing industry across several different industries for about 25 years, mostly in commercial real estate, shopping centers, retail, then moved on to entertainment. And then in my spare time, I used to mess around with dentists and accountants. And so anything from, huge budgets to really tiny. So my challenges and what I look for are early wins and low hanging fruit when I start a new engagement. All depends on the company size. So I try to have as many conversations as possible with who I'm working with in the team, because maybe the CEO or the president of the company has one view of how things are working, and then the team probably has a different view. And as you have to build that trust, you start getting more information on what's worked and what hasn't and what that means to them.
Right.
I usually try to ask what the goals are. And I think one of the biggest challenges is, here's the goal, here's how we're going to get there. And as a fractional CMO or somebody that does this, I just want to know the goals. I want to know what's worked, what hasn't. Many times they don't know. And then come up with a plan of how to hit that goal. But I think a big challenge is a lot of times they're like, well, we only want to go digital, or we only want to use this messaging, or this is our tagline. So I think the early win would just build trust amongst the entire team and listen to them.
Okay, David, what do you think?
Is
there
I
like
like
a problem you typically see? Is there a problem you normally go looking for? Because it's like, okay, I'm not going to get sandbagged by this. I've learned my lesson in earlier clients. Oh, and also let the audience know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Let me get into the problem first. I think the main problem is silos. So that's why trust building is essential. So the problem, as I see it, is that people are focused on what their job responsibilities are. If I'm the SEO person, then that's my focus. I want to optimize that channel within itself. If I'm the paid media person, I want to optimize that channel. If I'm the sales person, I want to optimize that. If I'm a finance person, I want to optimize that. Product person, and so on and so on and so on. Everyone is focused inward. And our job as kind of corporate storytellers is to get people to focus on the larger picture, which is the customer. And, I focus a lot on B2B, and it's especially true in B2B that the biggest problem is that they don't understand the buyer needs. So understanding the buyer needs is critical. So what I would do day one is go in and talk to sales. You talk to sales first, because sales knows how to turn people into revenue. So those conversations get put into revenue. That revenue gets shot up to finance. So you first need to talk to sales. You know how the money's coming in, what's working, what type of customers are good, what type of customers are not good. Then you take that conversation over to finance. And you say, look, here's my understanding of how we're making money, of how revenue is coming in here. Is this true? And show you understand the big picture and in terms of revenue generation. Then once you understand customers from a sales perspective and what finance is looking for, now you understand what the CEO really cares about, and you can get in and talk to the CEO and create your goal for the engagement. So I would say customer problems are first, silos are second, and then building trust for sure is your number one thing to do the first day you get in. And a little about me, my name is David Schafer. I am the fractional CMO at Gangbusters, and Gangbusters has a really tight focus on understanding buyers, and we'll get them to do something, or to buy something, or to subscribe to something, even just to believe something. So we're very focused on those internal buyer mindsets, and it sounds like a narrow focus, and it is on purpose, because there's a lot involved in understanding strangers and getting them to come close. So my clients are in a marketplace where the prospects don't see a difference between them. It's apples versus apples.
Right.
And that could be a tough place to get out of. But to become a category leader, you want to find ways to kind of crawl your way out of that. So we figure out how to help them understand their customers better, and that becomes the North Star. And then from there, we can optimize individual channels and improve results.
Hey, something you said there reminded me of something. So about talking to sales, right? And like one aspect of that I'm not a fractional CMO, but I produce a lot of sales enablement like content, and I help them talk to audiences. And one of the first things I always ask them is, what's a question that you dread a prospect's going to ask you? And because a competitor does this and we don't do that yet, or we've got a bad reputation in this part, and like someone else. Right? That question is gold, because you can almost always reframe and figure out something. And really, like from my in my job, which is writing something that's going to get someone's attention right away, that question is not even gold, it's platinum. Because usually in what's happened is like younger or like newer salespeople or people not quite experienced with the product or the service, like they dread that question. But anyone who's been answering it a long time, like they're ready for it. And so you'll find that those answers, and like that is just like perfect. But yeah, you rarely hear anyone say like, let's start with sales and work our way back. That's pretty good. Okay,
Yeah.
David, so let's stick with it, and let's go to wins then, right? That's sort of a win. But like what kind of early wins or low-hanging fruit do you normally like find in the first 90 days? While you're doing the more strategic below the waterline, not visible till you present it kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, early wins are tricky, right? Because that's what everybody's looking for.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get there until you have a solid marketing foundation and story. So what I would do is kind of pull out my back of the napkin strategy, which is okay. We understand this customer, and we understand this channel. Now, what's going on there, and turn that into a story, right? We're supposed to be these corporate storytellers. So there's a hero. That's the target audience. They've got a problem. There's sort of in the movie writing world, screenwriting, they call it an inciting incident. So, something happens in their world and it's thrown out of kilter, right? They may not even know it, but they need to fix that problem. So, we need to help them understand what that problem is, and realize what it takes to fix it. So oftentimes in B2B, again, that's my focus. It's creating free upper funnel education and entertainment that really gets people to lean in and basically like you more. And if you can do that, then you've got, I think, an early win. So I would focus my early wins on upper funnel storytelling. How do we become, as a brand, how do we become a guide worth following through education, entertainment, something free that will allow us to build a list. But really what we're trying to do is go on a quest with this buyer, a quest that will hopefully end in a purchase. But we have to go on that journey. We have to earn their trust individually. And it doesn't start at lower funnel tactics. It cannot. It starts in here, and it starts before the Google search. It starts, when they're sitting scrolling through TikTok or doing whatever.
Eden, how about you? What kind of early wins, if any, are possible in the first 90 days?
Well, it all depends on the industry and the client. So one of the things David said that I completely agree with is that no lower funnel. But that's when you walk in, they're like, okay, we need to do this and we need to do that, and it needs to get done. And they really don't even understand their why or if it works. So I'm going to also say what David said, and I kind of mentioned early too, is building the trust process in those 90 days. So, maybe going through a competitive analysis. I know you were talking about, Dean, about the question of what don't you ever want anyone to ask you? What makes you cringe, right?
Yeah.
And mine is a little different. It's, if you had a magic wand, what would you do different? So I try to get into those departments and figure out what that is. Sales is a great place to start, provided your client has a sales department. Because I've been in situations where I bring in the leads and then I have to follow up on the leads and I write the sales process that goes with it. And I'm making those calls. And you have to be very careful when you're trying to get those early wins, that you're not falling so far out of your scope that you can't get anything done at all. So I think a good competitive analysis, I think really talking to the people that this impacts to really understand your customer, as he said, making the client the hero and how to do that, and just going through the process and listening to what everyone has to say and incorporating that into a nice plan. So at the end of 90 days, you have a plan and people hear or see that you've heard them. So I think that's the biggest win outside of the tactical crap, sorry, that you're going to have to produce just to show that, someone's being heard. But yeah, I think sometimes that's a necessity, even though you don't want to start at the bottom of the funnel. Just a little bit of peppering that in sometimes helps. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's great. Another kind of metaphor that I think about sometimes is sailing. Like, you just need to be ready to sail the open waters. I'm not a sailor, but I like the idea of sailing. I don't understand sailing. That's why this is a good metaphor for me, because many people don't understand marketing. I don't understand how you get the wind to make you go in all these different directions. But within marketing, I do understand all the mysteries and all that, or not all of them, but some of them. So you want to be ready to sail in open waters, right? So you need to identify the trends, keep tab of industry, reports and social media chatter, all that.
Right.
You need to be able to analyze impact and strategize with the executives. You need to be able to quickly spin something up that may or may not work, that just says, look, I can rock and roll with you guys, and if you can do that, then again, you're earning trust, but you're also getting those wins.
Yeah, the small little tactical wins on your process to make that boat sail. I totally agree.
Okay, so in our fictional hypothetical, like 1 year engagement, right, where you're just starting out, like, what do you think clients normally don't see about their business or don't know about their business or marketing until you start working with them?
Oh, goodness. I think a lot of times they don't really understand what all of, as I like the word silo, what all their silos are doing, and they don't understand how they put them together. So if I am your social media strategist, I'm throwing you all these numbers. Look at how many impressions, look at how many engagements, but the needle's not moving. People aren't making sales. So that you could be great at what you do and get people to get engaged and to get as many impressions, but if they're not taking action and going through the funnel or making a purchase, it doesn't work. So I think that the thing that's most important for that understanding is taking what everyone's doing and making sure that it's aligned with the ultimate goal, the one that, whatever that strategy is. The other thing is keeping the goals the same. That moving target in that first year sometimes changes, because a lot of times you realize that the powers that be don't even know what they want, or they don't even know who their client is, or they're still manipulating their product to try to be everything to everyone. So that's.
I spent 20 years in large agencies as an executive creative director, and never thought about how companies make money.
There you go.
I never thought about it. I was good at what I'd done. I won lots of awards. I've worked with all the largest companies. And it wasn't until later in my career, really over the last 5 to 7 years, that I said this, but like, it's how do we make a buck? How do we take a stranger and turn them into someone who wants to talk to us and trust us and give us money? And if you think like that, you should also measure that. And I think that's the thing that many companies are doing wrong. So to measure that would be doing the hard math of being customer centric and taking customers and revenue and connecting them in some way. So the one way I like to do that is through just understanding the customer acquisition costs and the payback period. So if it costs me $500 to get a new customer, okay, that's the cost of it. But when am I going to get that customer? So I'm not going to get that customer this quarter. It's going to be next quarter. So if I think about that way, and I start reporting every 2 weeks on campaign results, I'm doing myself a disservice. I'm not reporting on the customer. I'm reporting vanity metrics on the campaign that I launched, right? So the real hard thing here is to go into finance and say, if you give me $1 today, I will give you $5 in this next period of time. And if you can do that, you're smooth sailing. There's no one to stand in your way, because finance will always say, I've got another $1 to give you. When am I going to get 3x or 5x or 10x ROI from that?
They'll make that deal every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Every day.
My dad used to say. This is not a podcast where we talk about books and stuff, but it was probably written about 20, 25 years ago. It's a very slim little volume called The Art of Profitability. And it's basically just an explanation of the 24 or so possible models that companies use to make a profit. Not a business model, just a profit model. It takes an hour to read. One of the most valuable hours of my life was understanding the 24 or so profit models. And the author just talks about all kinds of different businesses and industries, and like the players that and how they make their actual profit. Right? A dollar of profit instead of just $1 of income. Fantastic, stupidly poorly written, great content little book. The Art of Profitability.
I always thought it was dirty, like, oh, that's not creative, or that's not my, that's not my thing, man. And then I realized it didn't take anything away from my creative abilities at all. It strengthened them, and it turned a light switch on for me that says, okay, now I can move with speed and confidence. I know where I'm going. I know
there's nothing uncreative about knowing stuff other people don't know. That's one of the cheap, great pleasures in life, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So, David, what do you think a CEO, your potential prospective customer CEOs, and I want to ask this for him as well. Like, what do you think they should understand about fractional? What this CEO should know about fractional CMOs to squeeze every penny of value out of one for however long the engagement goes? Give up your secrets. How should they be exploiting you?
How should a CEO exploit me to their advantage? That's good.
That's awesome.
Make me take a quota.
There you go.
Again, talking about revenue. If I'm sticking with that, make me take a quota. Dave, you seem like a smart guy. Here's what our revenue and sales is now. We want a 5% boost, or we want a 3% ROI, or a 3x ROI, or 5x ROI. Do the math and take the quota. And I don't care how you do it, although I do care, because you can't spend more money. You actually have to spend less money, and you need to do it within this amount of time. And it's very hard to do that, by the way, because again, everything's siloed. So how do you measure the quota and all that? Right. So you need an advanced sort of way of thinking in a CEO. But if a CEO said that to me, if a CEO said, "Hey, David, take the quota," I'd work my ass off to meet the quota, and I'd work in a bonus on the back end if I hit it. So I'd say, here's my baseline. It's not going to be hourly. It's going to be Dave making sure that everything is moving in the right direction for you to hit that ROI goal that you're looking for. And if I get that, then I'll share in that with you. And I'd work night and day for that. It's fun.
So for me, it's that and. So interestingly, I'm a fractional CMO probably across 8 or 9 companies right now. That's because I have 2 clients, and both are serial entrepreneurs, each with different models underneath them. One they vary vastly. And the other is all, sporting related. So one works on the quota. I want you to meet this. I want this revenue stream, and there is profit sharing. Like, I want you to be a part of this company. And the other one, which I don't think is a great model, that's how this client wants to work, is, I need to bill you across my company. So I need like an hourly log of everything you're doing across everything, which all of a sudden you're filling time. So one is objective based or goal based, and the other one is how much work can you put in. But I was solely with one of them, and now I've expanded to two because I want to make my life insane. But the thing that is the most beneficial about being a fractional CMO, especially when you're not at just one company and you're at, two or more, is you get an outside perspective and different techniques and strategies that you wouldn't get in just one. So for example, I don't know, I just learned about, it's called like Pearl Diver, right? So anyone that visits your website, it scrapes and gives like 1/3 of the emails, right? I didn't even believe something like that was a possibility. And I got that from, one of the clients, just because that's what they use. So then I can bring that, that knowledge to another. Or, working in the real estate industry for so long, I was so pigeonholed. So as far as working, or what they should know about working with a fractional CMO is, I just think we have a more diverse experience from working with different clients and bringing that to the table. I don't think they should do it on an hourly basis. I think that David's actually spot on, is that there should be a metric. What do they want to achieve? But I also think, in my opinion, and I think I started with this, is that the CEO should hopefully know their goals and then get out of the way, in essence. Let you work with the team, let you build it, instead of, coming back going, well, no, we've always done it this way, and we should continue doing it that way, because look at these metrics, and those metrics aren't what your goal is, though. So,
well, then let me double down on that one then with you.
Okay.
So, like, what are some sort of red flags or signs that, like, a client should not have hired a fractional CMO, or the company was not ready for a fractional CMO yet?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to give an example. I'm not going to use
Yeah.
the client, but
Obviously, no,
you
absolutely.
don't sell Christmas trees after Christmas for full price, right? So I'm going to use that analogy. And they take you on after their season, if it's a seasonality based market, and they're like, well, we need to start spending. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your budget? And, then they're like, well, we need to, dump a bunch in now. And I'm like, well, that's great, but this is, Christmas trees after Christmas. And if you put all your money now, this is not when people are shopping. You need to put it where people are shopping, and the messages are at the right time in the right place, and you get people to move. And then, the other experience is, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And I'm like, dude, you didn't need a fractional CMO. What you need is a marketing coordinator, a marketing manager. You come up with the strategy and you tell them what to do, and they'll implement it. So that would be a huge warning sign. I've left clients for that before. Another one is, I was talking about, no sales team. So you start bringing in leads and the phones are ringing and no one's answering the phone.
Yeah.
And to me, it's important to see the results. So if I can make that phone ring, or I can get leads to come in and no one's nurturing them, and that's a sign too that it's not a good fit for me, because I'm all about the results. I feel proud of what I do, and I know that I've taken on the wrong client when I see signs like that.
David, what do you think? They're not ready, or they shouldn't have?
Yeah, I think I don't know what you call this, but there's a fixed mindset in some people that you can't call their baby ugly. You cannot you cannot point out something and it's an untouchable thing. So whenever there's something untouchable, or like a mindset, I'm a very good listener. And I can hear it when people are protecting things, and I'll push in and try to understand why they're protecting a certain thing. And if they are not capable of stepping out of sort of that mindset and seeing that they're protecting a certain thing, or viewing things a certain way, then I think it's going to be very difficult to bring innovation and change. And I think that's the core of what we're trying to do. The other thing I look for, it's always a red flag, and I've fallen into this trap before, is any kind of like black hat processes, if they're grinding things out in weird ways to
Right.
try to get customers,
Yeah.
they're on the juice. they're on the drug of something, and the right way is going to be awfully hard for them to get off of. Right. So, if they're spamming the heck out of people with email, if they're doing all sorts of other things, it's a problem. It's a problem. So I would look for fixed mindset and then just bad practices.
Yeah. I think there's, I don't know why, but I've today's the book podcast, I guess. There's a book that came out maybe 15 years ago called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. There's no point reading the second half of it. It's complete junk. But the first half of it is really good. And one of the things that the author talks about, he's a professor who just teaches corporations how to do strategy. And one of the things he talks about is the various types of inertia that you'll come across. Yeah. And there's for instance, there's inertia by proxy. You find this a lot in banks, where none of us want our banks to be particularly innovative and to keep throwing stuff at us, right? We want to be able to go online or use the app, pay somebody, see if our money arrived, and that's about it, right? And so because their customers don't want innovation, banks are sort of trapped in this inertia by proxy.
Yes.
There's also inertia by culture, which is basically we don't do things like that, or that's not how we do things around here, right? I spent a lot of time working in the cable industry, the cable industry, like cable TV, broadband. And the cable industry has done a really good job in the last 10, 15 years of basically pushing all those people out. And so they try to be as innovative as possible now. But there was a lot of that. When I first started working for my very first cable customer, we were all consultants and I was running a big software team as a vendor. Honest to God, by noon on Friday, you could throw live hand grenades and you were never going to hit a cable company employee. They were gone. They were not at their desks anymore. Their week was over, right? And the rest of us were still working until 5, 6, 7 in the evening. And so you get this sort of inertia by culture, and it's very hard to get rid of it. Very hard to get rid of it. Okay, I have another weird question. It's my last weird question. Whoever wants to jump in on it first is fine. Now, let me frame it up this way. For a long time, I was a senior project manager for software companies, and I've helped hire a lot of project managers. And just this week, yesterday, a fractional CMO, a client of mine, we were talking about how she just hired a project manager. And I said, there are two mentalities when you hire a project manager, and I'm going to get to a fractional CMO in a second. But you either hire them and expect them to be revenue neutral, which is to say you're going to pay them, but they're going to save you enough money by having things actually organized and planned and not having to do rework and expensive rework and making sure you hit your deadlines and not hitting, and make sure you get your SLAs and not getting penalty fees and all. They'll actually, whatever you're paying them, but they'll recoup enough money in inefficiencies so that it's a wash, except you get rid of all the hassle of having to deal with all that other crap, right? And then you can also find some project managers who will actually are a multiple. You're paying them, but they'll bring in so much extra work or find extra opportunities when they're assigned to a project with a client or whatever. They'll make money for you. They're not as common, but you can find them. And I said, and she was talking about the one she hired is basically just if she breaks even, she'd be happy. Do you think for most fractional CMOs, I'm going to have you tell on your peers without actually naming anyone. Do you think most of them are ultimately revenue neutral, or they're actually their own kind of profit center? Whoever wants to go first, go first.
I can start this one. Who are they, or who should they be? A lot of them are revenue neutral. I like when I walk into an organization to make it a sales organization. So what I'd like to see is that everyone to be engaged and aware of how they can add something to the bottom line, and even changing pay structure to help bring that to the table. Because I think with revenue neutral, it's the status quo. It's great, but if you can find somebody with the talent to be, a traffic coordinator and keep everything, running smoothly and also add to that, I think there is tremendous value.
David, what do you think?
I would just say that revenue neutral is boring to me.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you think most fractional CMOs are revenue? I mean, it's kind of like they should at least be revenue neutral, right? You shouldn't lose money by bringing in a fractional CMO.
You shouldn't.
You've really done it wrong, all right? If you're poorer after that 1 year than before, right?
No laughing. Yeah.
Sorry.
But you see that everywhere. You see the revenue neutral marketing directors, you see revenue neutral fractional CMOs, or I don't understand the point. I think it's a cross function between, I think every marketer should be a salesperson. Every salesperson should know enough about marketing, because the goal is to generate traffic, branding, revenue, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's a goal.
And every employee's review and pay structure is going to be in some way impacted by revenue growth or not revenue growth. So aligning everybody, you know, employer branding and employee understanding of the customer and the brand and revenue generation is a fantastic byproduct of good internal corporate storytelling that if in my experience is if people focus on it, they'll improve it. You know, if it's a metric that's out there. I'm trying to think of the right quote. There's a nifty quote about this. I just can't think of it. But if you have something you want to improve, then shine a light on it and say, let's talk about this.
What gets measured gets done is one of the first
There
things.
you go. That's what I was trying to say. Well done.
Yeah. All right. This has been great. Thanks, guys. Okay. So I think I'm at the bottom of the screen. So let's work our way up. Like David, you've got your URL on the screen here. What's your preferred way for people to actually contact you, and who should be contacting you ideally?
Yeah. So my email and easy to reach me directly through my site and set up a call with me directly. I am a problem solver by nature, having been a corporate and creative creature in marketing departments my whole life. I love talking marketing, talking content creative, talking growth with anybody. I like when CEOs come to me and say, I think I have a customer problem and I'm not sure who understands it.
Okay.
So I really like talking to someone from the C-suite who thinks that they have a customer problem.
And Eden, how should people ideally get in touch with you, and who should be?
The best way to reach me is Edan, EDAN, @themintmarketing.com, or my first last name on LinkedIn.
Right.
Who should reach out to me, especially right now, because I am so I'm in the process of a lot of clients right now and trying to sort it out. But the people I would love to talk to right now is anybody that loves to collaborate. So it's either fellow marketing professionals, companies that are having issues.
The floodgates on that one. Careful.
Yeah, right. Let's talk.
I love to brainstorm, and my network, I think, is my superpower. I learned so much from fellow marketers. Even Dean, your strategy we talked about, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is such a great idea, because you're creating conversations and you're expanding your network with this podcast. So I like to talk to colleagues in the industry. I love to have lunches with them or just calls with them, just to brainstorm, because I learn and get better from every single one of those conversations.
Yeah. I just found out yesterday on LinkedIn, I hit 10,000 followers.
See, there you go. Look at, I mean, you're a master marketer and storyteller.
There you go, man.
Impressive.
I don't know about that, but thank you. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks, Eden. Thanks, David. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next time. And hopefully you guys will come back sometime, because this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Eden.
All right.
Thanks. Nice